Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Sports Arena. I'm your man, Eric Wilson, on a Monday night. Yeah, we're starting a little bit early here this evening because we've got a lot to talk about, and I've got some guests, as they say, back for the first time, returning to have some conversation. Please allow me to welcome in. First, I am so happy to see her. She is doing phenomenal things. If you don't know the 806, then you don't know the Queen of Hoop, the one and only Miss Megan Price back in the building. What's going on?
Hello. How are you?
I am well. Just
Awesome.
real talk. Hurricane fatigue is a real thing. I'm just letting you know.
Right.
But how are you? Congratulations on all your success, first and foremost.
Oh, thank you.
From your weekly show to the 2 and 3 and 4 podcasts that you are not only a host on, but a content creator, a producer, a director. Covering the Dallas Wings, covering the WNBA finals. And now you're working with the Amarillo Venoms and their baseball team.
Mm-hmm. The Venom is actually going to go through a name change, and they're going to be called the Dusters, which was their original name when they first became an arena football team. And they will be joining a new league. They got a new owner this year. So last year was, it didn't go the way they had anticipated, but they're going to have a much larger schedule. And so looking forward to seeing if that's going to work out for them. Unfortunately, their schedules kind of conflict with the baseball team that I work for. So if I'm able to do both, I would love to do both. If I'm not, MLB kind of takes the precedence in my world.
Really? I mean, I thought the NFL, of course, would be doing, great things for you, Megan, because,
No, it's not against the NFL. I'm sorry, my dog.
No, I knew Chico DeBarge was going to say something to me when I started talking about your Cowboys, but
yeah, and it was him absolutely barking. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Let me get the rest of the crew in really quick, and we will definitely get back to you, because let me just say, I love having this young brother on, because when he is on, his information is just, I feel like his information is just fluid. That's what I feel like. My man Playmaker is in the building. What's up, brother? How are you?
Could wish I was doing a little better, but I'm here.
Why? What's wrong? What's going on? Are you? What's up, man?
Your team just won a championship. What do you mean?
It's that type of season here in Florida when things change. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, anyhow, let me get this brother in here, because I truly have not seen him in a minute, and I know he got a lot to say, because I'll just put it to you like this. When it comes to Facebook, I got 4 words for you. She for the streets. The sports reporter without pay is in the building.
What's up, man?
It is an honor to have you back on, brother. How are you? What's up, bro?
Hey, bro, they be out here for the streets, man. What you want me to say, bro?
Man, you and them posters, bro.
Bro, you be hitting them. I be looking for it every day, and it be coming through, man. I'm just like, okay. And I just have to stop whatever I'm doing. Like, the one thing I can't do is look at Raylan's photos when I'm in the car, because I will probably crash into somebody. Like, that's just, he be putting that stuff out there. But your basketball stuff, I know is coming up again with this year. Speaking of basketball, I just want to jump right in, because I want to be very, very cognizant of everybody's time here tonight. And thank you all for joining me. I want to jump right into this. The WNBA finals ended in controversial fashion, as people are saying, because the 2024 WNBA champions is this group right here. The New York Liberty, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, MVP, Jonquel Jones, UC Benaji Lane Hamilton. Of course, I got to give it up for Courtney Vandersloot and the rest of that squad, bringing their very first basketball championship to the New York Liberty. Like, it's just crazy to think, because this is one of the original teams, 28 years, and now they finally got one. So to Ray, and especially to the Queen of Hoop, Megan Price, let's talk about the victory first before we dive into the controversy that exists.
So for the fans that have been there since day one, who went up against the Comets 4 years in a row just to face defeat for your draft pick and Rebecca Lobo, who did not work out for you, for the time that you had with Teresa Witherspoon and Becky Hammond and all the greats that have been a part of your franchise, I'm so happy for you guys. I know it has been a long road. I'm a Texas Rangers fan, so I understand how hard that is to go a really long time without a championship, regardless of how valid and impressive your seasons are, because at the end of the day, the goal is to win and to bring a championship home. And you guys have never done that until this year. And so super happy for that organization. Happy for Sandy also. I know there have been some question marks on that first championship when she was with the Mercury. Like, did they win because of her or in spite of her? There were some questions. There was reasons that Phoenix moved on. So incredibly happy for them as an organization. It feels good to finally get a championship. I understand how that feels.
All right, so now let's dive in to the controversy side of it, and I'm glad my man is joining us. You know, a familiar face, a family member, part of the Say What, Say It Again crew. I had to get Chuck in the building with this one as well. What's going on, Chuck? How are you, brother?
What's up, man? Good to see y'all.
Hey, man. Hey, Eric. When you ask me to come on a show, you tell me who the rest of the cast is, man. It's some people I don't enjoy being on camera with. You know what I'm saying? Like, you let me know next time so I can have my people call your people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will make sure that was my fault. I did not give you the itinerary. I apologize. I gave you the rundown, but not the list. That's my fault. But since today, let's talk about the controversy, though, because here is the thing that I will say when it comes to, in this case, a game 5, what we typically would call a game 7. Sometimes we feel as though you got to let the players play, okay? Because throughout the season, we see fouls called, and as fans and even sometimes as media, we sometimes begin to scrutinize, well, why did you do this and not do it this? You know, Mike Carrottenuto is famous for saying, and I co-sign on it, if you're going to call a foul in the first quarter, then you damn sure better call it in the fourth quarter. You got to be consistent. But in a situation like this, in a game where you had 3 games where teams came back from a 15 to 18 point deficit to win the game, game 5, in my opinion, all bets are off. Am I wrong in that assumption, Ray?
No, in a nutshell, no, you're not wrong. But this like when you said, I want to talk about the win before the controversy, and Megan gave her breakdown on just like as a fan, just seeing a team that's been there since day one, they've never won, right? You can see how much it meant to them. Like Coach Spoon was on the side, like she was there, right? I recall she had like that long like half court shot or something crazy, right? Like she been in New York since day one, so it meant a lot to them. It meant a lot to the fan base, right? Cool. So once you get that out the way, you can't talk about the win without talking about how it happened. It's so much to unpack with that. Like that foul call on Breanna Stewart, our referee, man, that's one of the worst calls I've ever seen. Especially considering she traveled. Like, it's like, wait a minute, what just happened here? So you got 2 calls wrong? You missed the travel on her and you bailed her out? Like, that's the work, especially considering she's playing bad. I don't think you referee a player based on how they're playing. But if a player's being aggressive and now you see the other team is like fouling them because they can't stop, you got to make you bailed her out. She played awful all game. She played awful all series, but she really was playing bad last night. She was 4 for 17, something like that. And Sabrina was 1 for 19. Like, you can't make that call, man. Like, I don't think you can make that call. And if I'm going to spin the block and come back, and we're going to talk about Nafisa Collier. But like that call, like that particular call, you can't decide a championship on that call. Yeah,
and literally Lana, she was like the picture perfect definition of how to have a defensive stance. Like, it was exactly how you would coach it and how you would tell you to be a defender. And it was called a foul. Just atrocious.
So, Playmaker, let me go to you, because throughout the season, you and I have conversed, and you've been true to your pick from jump. now that all the smoke is cleared, and there is a definitive champion, just talk to me about what you're feeling, and more importantly, to Ray's point, just how Game 5 looked from your lens.
First, let me start by saying, yes, 28 years. I'm one of those fans in them 28 years to be waiting for a title to come to the New York Liberty. So
congratulations. Congratulations. Like I don't want to take it away from that, but controversy.
But
I'm a Lions fan. I don't feel for you.
Ray, we're gonna get to the Lions. Just hold on. We're gonna get to the Lions.
No, I don't feel for them at all. Like not a bit, not one bit.
All right.
But I feel like it's 2019 all over again.
In what regard?
Rams Saints NFC Championship. I said, yeah, that was a pass interference call. But guess what? Did you still have an opportunity to take it or not? Minnesota did. So you can say it shouldn't even get to that point. You built a 12-point lead with 3 minutes to go before halftime. And then from 3 minutes to the fourth quarter, you got outscored 27-12 with 20-10 in the third quarter. You shouldn't have got to that point. Okay, the foul happens, which I would say here, it wasn't a foul. I don't believe it was a foul, but it's called. So it's overtime, which means you still have an opportunity to win the championship. You have 5 more minutes. What happened in overtime? You go 0 for 6. And that's not even the most egregious part. Not even the 4 turnovers is the most egregious part. You know what the most egregious part about the fourth quarter for the Minnesota Lynx? Nafisha Carr didn't have 1 shot attempt in the overtime. And she didn't foul until 13 seconds left in overtime. So the Minnesota Lynx let that call get to them. Because you didn't call no plays. Coach Reeves didn't do nothing to make sure the Fisher Carr got the ball to make something happen in overtime. You can agree with the call, you can disagree with the call, but my thing is Minnesota still have an opportunity to win. And they didn't put themselves back into the moment to win.
I can agree with that to a degree because, yes, you're right. Courtney Williams, Bridget Carlton played terrible when it came to the shooting. But going into overtime, not only did Carlton have 5 fouls, but Nafisa had 5 fouls. Nafisa had 22 points and 7 boards, and none of that was off of free throw attempts. None of that. She didn't have 1 foul called on her the entire game. So it wasn't just that one particular foul that defined this game. But I agree with you. Like, you should not be in that position where a foul can determine the outcome of the game. Like, you should have been far enough ahead that doesn't determine the outcome. And so there's some key points that I agree with you on, but it happened the entirety of the game. How did your best player not shoot any free throws?
But I agree with you on that. My point is how your best player doesn't even get a shot attempt in overtime.
Okay, but isn't the game about the ebb and flow? You know what I mean? Like, don't we call basketball a game of runs? Correct me if I'm wrong here. Yeah, so, go ahead, Ray.
Because obviously, like, I ain't gonna say I'm disappointed. He a fan. Like, if I was a Liberty fan, I would be saying the same thing. But as a guy who don't have a horse in this race, neither one of them is my team. I don't have a WNBA team. Like, I just watch. As an innocent bystander and a non-biased point of view, right? Like E just said, it's a game of runs. Like, the New York Liberty was the best team in the league all year, right? So we can't expect them to just roll over and lay down because they was down. They got down in the game. They did what they were supposed to do and came back and made it a game. So we're supposed to reward them towards the end of the game because they played hard and got back in it and then fought Minnesota and say it shouldn't even been to that point. It shouldn't have been, but it reached that point. So now at that point, you still can't just hand them the game. I'll give you one better, Megan. Not only did she not shoot a free throw this game, Eric, how many free throws did Nafisa Collier shoot in game 1 versus Phoenix? 14. How many did she shoot in game 2 versus Phoenix? 14. How many did she shoot in the entire WNBA finals? 14. That's unbelievable that she shot 14 free throws in a 5-game series and none came in game 5. 14 free throws in the whole series? Brianna Stewart had 31. Brianna Stewart had 31. That's unbelievable.
It is. It is. Chuck, man, get in here on this, brother, because, you know, part of what you were saying and what Ray was saying today on social media was the reason why I knew I wanted to get y'all on the Sports Arena tonight to have this conversation, because, and I do want to flip it over to Minnesota, because I got queued up and I'm waiting for Chuck. Then I'm going to queue up Cheryl Reeve. Listen, let me just say this. She's in my intro. I have talked to her as a USA basketball head coach, as a Minnesota Lynx head coach. I have not had the pleasure of meeting her in person, but Cheryl Reeve has always been one thing. She has been herself from jump. This does not surprise me what she said, but you could tell in her, like this was in her core. Cheryl didn't give any you know what when it came to this post-game interview, and she let everybody know, as the street prophets say, she want all the smoke. But Chuck, go ahead, because then I'm gonna cue this up.
I'm just gonna say I agree with Ray. And my thing is I picked Minnesota to win for the simple fact, yes, New York was the best team, you know, going in, but to me, Minnesota was the best team the second half of the season. After the Olympics, Minnesota was the best team in the WNBA. They knocked off the Aces, I believe, twice. They knocked off New York. They beat New York. So it was really nobody was stopping them. They had the momentum. To me, Nafisa Collier, after the Olympics, has been the best player in the WNBA. Like, to me, hands down. Much as I love Asia, but I mean, she was just on another level. So I say that to say this. I get what my guy's saying, and I'm like Ray. I think he's speaking more of a fan than an actual analyst. Because if you look at that game, yes, we're talking about the one call, but basketball is a game of momentum. I'm like Ray, I ref too. Referees can take away your momentum, and that changes the entire complexity of the game. What happened was, I want to talk about other calls. You had Courtney Williams comes down the lane. She wraps the ball up. She's begging her coaches to challenge it. I don't know why they didn't. She wraps the ball up. They call a foul. They get 2 free throws. Brianna Stewart gets 2 free throws when it was actually a jump ball. Nafisa Collier come down the lane. Brittany Stewart literally grabs her. They show it. They literally grab her. No call. Turnover. New York gets the ball. We come down again. Collier is just standing there on the screen, not moving whatsoever. They call an offensive foul. They show the review. She's just standing there. They call it. So in the second half, to me, yes, you could easily say New York got their way back in the game, but to me, I watched the entire game, and it was call after call after call after call after call. Yes, they were in a position to win in overtime, but after your momentum has literally been taken away from you, and it's not no fault of your own, that game should have been over. It shouldn't even really. You're right. They shouldn't have had a position with it. They shouldn't have been in a position where they was down 2. They should have been down a lot more. But again, whistle after whistle after whistle after whistle after whistle allowed New York to get back in the game. So my thing is, it was even more of a travesty to challenge the call, look at the review, and you still stick with what you was obviously wrong. After they challenge, you still stick with that call after everybody in the world sees it as not a foul. You stick with it. After Ray, after she travels. So you don't call the travel, you don't call the foul. No offense to New York, because I like Stewart. I feel like Stewart is deserving of a championship. I do. But at the same time, Minnesota should be WNBA champions. There's no way to get from around it. Like, we can be fans, we can be analysts, but the truth is the truth. The truth is what it is. They should be the WNBA champions.
Chuck, to piggyback, I'm looking at the numbers right now. They both shot awful. You can say they both shot awful. You say both teams played great defense, whichever way you want to call that, right? Minnesota was 26 of 70, 37%. New York was 22 of 72, 31%. New York was 2 of 23 from 3. One of a lot of that was from Sabrina Ionescu. And Minnesota was 3 for 19, right? So neither team shot well. So what was the difference in the game? Minnesota was 7 of 8 from the free. They shot 8 free throws. New York shot 25 free throws. That's unbelievable. Like, and again, man, again, no discredit to the players, right? Only thing you can do is keep playing. You couldn't have told me before the game that Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu were going to combine 5 of 30, whatever it was, 5 of 37, 38, whatever that was, and they would win. You couldn't have told me that before the game. Shout out Jonquel Jones. She balled out, right? But 25
shout out Nyara, because that's what I feel like really saved them was Nyara. Like coming off the bench with 13 points. Like that was the biggest besides the free throws. I feel like that was the biggest determining factor for New York was Minnesota's bench had no activity whatsoever. And then you got Nyara coming off the bench and she killed it.
And I would say this because Ray and Chuck said I'm speaking from a fan perspective, but Eric and Megan know I have been on this standpoint ever since they met me. If you still have an opportunity to get what you want, you have to be in that moment. Minnesota was not in that moment.
So I have a question for you. Have you, and this is not no knock on you, have you played sports?
Yes.
Okay, I play basketball. What I'm telling you is if I'm out playing the team and let's say we go into the second half, we're up double digits. If literally every call, everything is going the other team's way, like whistle, 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 whistle. Mind you, yes, you have an opportunity, but momentum is momentum. It can easily swing the other way. Yes, they play bad in the overtime, but at the same time, their momentum was taken away from that. That's a big. What we don't understand is that's a big difference. Momentum can help you win or lose a game.
Can I flip it on you?
That's
because I've been on the team that was known for getting calls on them. We used to get called every time. We had to go in there and say, we got to stop looking at the refs. If they want to call it the way they want to call it, let them call it the way they want to call it. But we're going to play our game. And guess what? We came back and won.
Yeah. Wait. Which game was that?
Okay. This was my senior year. And we were playing our arch rivals. And they
talking about his personal him.
Oh, I see. I thought we were still
our arch
talking
rivals
about the
in
finals.
their personal and they own building. They was getting all the calls. We couldn't look at the refs. We just got to play our game. We came back and beat them.
Listen, I'm not even disagreeing with the sentiment that as a professional athlete, you have to be in the moment, can't let the refs, yada, yada, yada. But when you've played a 40-game season, you've got through the first round, you've gotten through the second round, and now you're in the NBA finals, and you're down to the wire. I mean, it don't get no better than this. You talking, again, 40 games, 2 rounds of playoffs, and now the championship series is down to a winner take all. As a fan, you can't ask for nothing more, right? You got last year's MVP versus this year's Defensive Player of the Year and came second in MVP. You got Sabrina Ionescu, right? Like you have everything you will. The only thing anybody else could ask for was that the Aces was somehow in this game, but they weren't, right? Like, right. And we talked about that on your show, right? Me and you, Playmaker, we talked about the standings and how it's going to work out. But everything came down to, right? The whole season came down to 2 minutes left in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like at that point, Minnesota has still withstood the onslaught from New York in the second half. They've withstood the refs. Every time a play needed to be made, every single time a play needed to be made, they made it. I made a post and I was like, yo, Kayla McBride and the physical Collier. Like in that fourth quarter, every time you needed to play, Kayla McBride did something. I was like, yo, she nice. You know what I'm saying? Like they took every punch New York had and was still there in a position to win. So when you go, you still got to be in the moment. They were in the moment. They were in the moment with the game in their hands, and New York needs that bailout call to send it to overtime. Like if the call is called correctly, if they call the travel the way they're supposed to, Minnesota has the ball. Now you got to foul them to shoot free throws, and it's a different outcome. If they just don't call the travel and don't call the foul, odds are Minnesota gets the rebound. That's a missed call. And that's like in football when a touchdown gets called back and then it's a turnover. It's like that's a 14-point swing. That's a huge swing to then say, oh, they should have just stayed in the moment. You know what it reminded me of, Chuck? The game one of the, I want to say 2018 finals. I think it was the 18 finals, right? You kind of know you're out, man. They're the better team. The J.R. Smith timeout thing is what I'm talking about. And everybody LeBron overreacted and he should have. Because LeBron knew, dude, like, our chances are very limited against this team. They're more talented than us. And now we have this opportunity, and that just got taken away, right? In his case, it was his player he was upset at. Minnesota's case is like, wow, we played this entire season, got all the way down to this, and they just gave, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't act like as a human that don't affect you. It was fans somewhere crying. How you think the players feel? So, like, I don't like this whole idea that, oh, they got to stay at the moment. They still had a chance. But like we talked about that momentum, right? She played horrible all game. Then Ionescu hit a huge shot. I'm talking a huge shot. And it's like, that's momentum in sports. Brianna misses 2 free throws, and then they give her 2 more.
Right.
Man, that's a lot, man. Like, I don't dislike New York, but that was a very poorly officiated finals altogether. But then the game 5 was awful altogether, and for that game to end the way it did, you can't help but feel like if you were a Minnesota fan, we'd be having a different conversation. I mean, like,
we're gonna get to Minnesota, but let me just really quick, because like I said, I got it queued up here. Let me play.
Oh,
Cheryl Reeves.
No games. She wasn't playing no games.
I love Cheryl.
The challenge, we have got to change our challenge rules, and the officials doing the game should have a third party, because that was not a foul. That call should have been reversed on that challenge. If we sent that clip in, well, first of all, Nafisa Collier, number of times that she's held, et cetera, and there's nothing down that end, right? So it's kind of, for whatever reason in the series, that was kind of the way it was. But when at the other end, when we challenged it, if we would have turned that clip in, they would have told us that it was marginal contact, no foul. Guaranteed. So when you review, those should be the same parameters that you're reviewing with. But the 3 people that are on the game need a third party to let them know, because I decided the game.
I'm just gonna stop it right there, because
She went to cussing after that.
Cheryl went to being, like I said, Cheryl went to being herself and do what she do. And I was just like, I'm watching the post game, and I'm like, nothing surprised me that she said, but that was just the beginning of the intensity that she not only felt for her players, for herself as a coach, and for her organization. Like Ray said, the refs took this game out of the players' hands and made decisions that ultimately decided the outcome. So now let's flip it to Minnesota, because whether you're a Lynx fan, not a Lynx fan, as long as you're a WNBA fan, that's why we having this conversation. What is next? What is next right now? Because, and here's my reason for saying that. We are 3 months away from the start of the unrivaled league in Miami. You know who the 2 people are that are running this league? Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. The 2 women who were just in the WNBA finals. I'm just curious how what happened the other day is going to have an impact with this league. I just can they separate the 2?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh yeah, I think they absolutely can, because and if you also
see, y'all say that because y'all ain't in the mix.
No, but they're professional athletes.
No, I say it because there's enough time in between the 2 that Fee will probably calm down a little bit. And then also, I also think that Stewie is somebody that's logical. If it was her on the other side of things, I think she would understand where Fee is coming from. So yes, there might be a little tension, but I think it's far enough away that they'll probably be fine.
So again, I've been on both sides of it. I've refereed and I've played sports at a semi-high level, right? I've been in a position, typically when you in leagues and stuff like that, you're friends with all of these people.
Right.
Yes.
Right? Like y'all have relationships. In the heat of battle, we going at it. And if I'm on the wrong side of a call, I'm upset with the officials. And I'm gonna make sure I let my friend know, that was some BS. I ain't gonna lose our friendship over it. I've lost games and I'm talking in the handshake battle. I'm pissed off. Yeah, y'all know that was a whack. Y'all know. You know what I mean? But after it's all said and done, I might call you tomorrow and see what you're doing. I'm not upset at the players. Breonna Stewart didn't make the call. She was bailed out by the call. She didn't make that call. So I don't see the players, when these teams meet again next year. Oh yeah. No love lost. You hear me? But I don't think outside of that is going to be a thing where even if we talk women's basketball, even Angel Reese and Caitlin, right? They don't dislike each other. The world make it something, but I don't think she's going. I don't think she's going.
You're right. Listen, I just have to ask that question.
But I do think it's breeding
circumstances.
What Cheryl had to say after that voice clip, I think it is going to give way to a three-way team rivalry because Cheryl was handing out slugs left and right. Aces caught a stray in that conversation as well. And so I believe it's going to be the Aces, Minnesota, and New York that don't like each other, which they already, there's no love lost. You can throw Connecticut in there too, because none of them like them either.
But I already have the feeling that the Aces coming back with a whole bunch of fire.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. So Cheryl went on to kind of give a Cliff Notes version of it. She went on to say that she built her team in the way that you're supposed to, within the legal rules of building their team. She said, and I'm going to have to go back and correct her on this one because she went and said, I didn't create a super team and I didn't do anything like illegal flights or possibly get a player outside the rules onto my team. Well, she did build a super team because how she got her championships was through a super team because that was not just a drafted team. Only 2 of those players were drafted. The rest were pulled from free agency or in Sill's case, a demanded trade only to Minnesota in the middle of the season. So, there was some controversy that went into that dynasty and it was a super team. So if she would take that out of it, she didn't build a super team with this particular team. Sill retired 2 years ago and here they are right back in the finals. What Cheryl did is amazing with this team, the way she constructed it. And I expect them to be in the top 3 teams next season as well. But we're going to be adding another team next year. No, I don't think the Valkyries are going to be number 1 or anything like that. And they're not getting Paige because clearly they're the number 5 pick for the first 3 rounds. But there's going to be some changes over this league because also 5 teams have no head coaches right now. 5.
Well, there was talk. I'm sure you saw, Megan. There was talk that a certain someone who shall remain nameless.
I know you talking. I don't like it.
Was talking to Chicago, so we don't know.
The tiny man.
Yes, him.
Well, I heard that Dallas is interested in him too. I just want to go ahead. I've announced this on X already that I'm going to be taking my fandom to the Bay. I love purple. I'm a Valkyries fan now.
So, wait, what? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know how Megan is when it comes to people that she don't like.
I know, but
no. This is the first time in life that I've jumped ship on a team, and it was mainly, I don't want to be too detailed because I do work in this industry, but there's one particular person that's no longer employed by the Wings, and I think that that's going to be a huge improvement for them. Because they went through 6 head coaches in 7 years, I believe. So it was a lot, or 5 head coaches in 7 years. So it was a lot. And I think a lot of times the coach was the scapegoat. So, I'm sure you can guess who I'm talking about.
No, I understand.
And that person's no longer with the team. He was relieved last week along with LT. But I've had enough. I can't deal with Jerry Jones as a terrible owner and the Wings. I can't do it.
Okay. All right.
For this whole New York's not a super team thing. 2 things about WNBA. One, outside of Asia Wilson, the last 2 MVPs in the WNBA both played for the New York Liberty.
Yes.
The last 2.
Yes.
And one of them just won Finals MVP. And then you have before the Caitlin Clark before her whole
Who said they weren't a super team? They are a super team.
No, I'm saying I'm talking about the rant from last night. Her saying that she didn't build a super. Well, you do, that team is New York is a super. Well, I guess she was referring to.
No, she was saying it was Cheryl. Yeah, Cheryl was saying she didn't build a super team.
I'm saying because New York is clearly a super team. Another thing, Eric, you didn't have this on the rundown, but it's only fair that we at least mention this. And I'm gonna tip my own cap. If you go back and look at every WNBA conversation we ever had, from the first one you and I ever had, when I made that comment, they don't deserve nothing, and people misunderstood it and took it wrong. Like I was saying, don't give them. No, I was saying, no, nobody owes you anything. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody owes to say we're just going to give them because. Then we had another conversation, me, you, Megan, and I want to say Mike Carrot was on that show. We was talking about the pay. And I pulled up the entire document and was reading to y'all the collective bargaining agreement, right? This is why they can't, the collective bargaining agreement says you have to be this far removed from high school. Collective bargaining agreement says no private flights, like all this stuff we was talking about. I'm like, well, that's what they agreed to in the CBA. I don't know if y'all have heard. But they announced today they opted out of the CBA.
They opted out.
If you remember another conversation we had, Eric, well, I said the problem with the WNBA is they don't have a face. And then we had another conversation about the treatment one certain player was getting this year. And I said, if they were smart, they'd ride the wave, shut up, and wait and see what happened. She did exactly what we said, right? Forget if she's going to be great, whatever. She brought eyes to the league, right? People watched. The viewership was up. The attendance was up. And the women said, we ain't waiting. Right now, we're going to strike while the iron is hot. We want out of this deal. It's going to be interesting to see. They already saying they think they're going to miss some work. I doubt it. The season is so short. So we're talking now. The season just ended. They got close to 9 months to figure this out, right? 8 months, 9 months, something like that. But it's going to be real interesting to see because they've now opted out of the agreement. And the biggest thing we know they want, they probably going to want some more accommodations. They're going to want to get rid of this flight rule, I'm sure. They're going to want a bigger pay revenue. Like they want a bigger revenue split. Which is interesting because even with the increased viewership and the increased attendance, they still lost money this year. But people don't understand you got to spend some money first to make money. They put a lot more money into advertising this year. You saw WNBA everywhere, right? So they spending money to in turn make money. They're going to bigger revenue split. And if they're really smart, oh my God, if they're smart, they will change this rule about how long you got. Because I want to see Juju right now.
Facts.
Like I would have loved to seen Paige 2 years ago, right? They need to go ahead and change this rule, right? So I would think those would be the three main things that they need to, because quiet as kept, the WNBA needs Juju right now. Like while it's gaining this notoriety that it is, people are talking about it on social media. They're talking about it on ESPN. The viewership numbers up, the attendance is up. They're gonna raise prices. That's just how it works, right? Supply and demand. People want to see us. Let's raise the prices. Oh my God, you add Juju to that mix and it's crazy, right? They need to make it where you can come out after your sophomore year so we can get Paige next year and her the year after. But I think those are going to be the three big things they're looking for in this collective bargaining agreement is revenue split, different accommodations with the flights and food and hotels and stuff like that. And I would say the age thing, they should be, but I guess we'll see.
My only pushback to that is how long would that work? Okay, you see it's not work. Because you see what happens when it comes to the men's game.
Well, but that's different though. You know
what are we talking about?
Yeah,
what do you mean? What happens with the men's game? The one and done?
Yes.
What about it?
So when you switch that rule, that's when you haven't had how I want to put this, the young star power come into the league because they not fully developed for the NBA game. And they get thrown into the fire and they crash and burn.
Let me ask you this question. This is a serious question. There's no disrespect to the women's game, right? Right now they have that rule in place and you have to be X amount of years removed and you have to be this, you have to be that, right? This year's draft class, right? Mm-hmm. If I say, tell me two people who were, I'm talking like WNBA ready, solid, can flat out just hoop and got it done this year's rookies. And I say, don't say Caitlin Clark. Give me your answer.
No.
Rakia Jackson and Camila Cardozo.
Right. So Camila Cardozo, right? Based on who and what she was in college, her rookie year was a disappointment. If we're being honest, based on who and what she was in college, right? Which a lot of her notoriety came from the fact that she was playing on the best team. From a talent perspective, I don't think she should have went higher than Angel in the draft, but that's neither here nor there. Angel Reese, who that double-double thing she was doing, I forget what you want to say negative, but like she was hooping. You know what I'm saying? She was hooping.
Compared to some people, I don't know.
Now, old girl from LA, her getting her Cameron Brink. I think her getting hurt kind of hurt the rookie class. The point I'm making is I don't care whether it's one and done or whether they stay 4 years. You're going to have people that come and aren't ready right off the jump.
Right.
We've seen that.
You know why that rule is in place, though? Because the NCAA is dirty and they want their money.
It's the money.
That's why that rule was always in place.
That's why I got to put in place for the NBA, because you got to, if you look at the 2000s, right, in 96 when Kobe did it and KG did it, well, 95 KG did it, 96 Kobe did it. It was like a rare thing, right? Then all of a sudden in the mid 2000s, any talented high school player was jumping to the league, right? LeBron, T-Mac, Dwight Howard. Then the guys you don't remember came out of high school: Amari Stoudemire, Al Jefferson, Deshaun Stevenson,
I know
Al Harrington, Jonathan Bender, Jermaine O'Neal. The list goes on, right? And it started watering down the college game. NCAA said, "Wait a minute, y'all taking all the best talent. At least make them come to college for 1 year." So what? Now what happens? Any talented guy, he ain't staying longer than 1 year. Now it's to the point, man, if you a sophomore or junior in college, the pros ain't even looking at you. Because if you was talented, you'd have been gone 2 years ago. And what do? You get guys that are ready from day one after one and done, like a Blake Griffin, right? 20 and 10 out the gate. Like a Zion, even though he ain't been healthy, he was ready. A John Morant, like guys that Trae Young, guys that are ready. And then you're going to get guys like OJ Mayo, right? You go like it's gonna happen no matter what. You had high school guys that was ready like Kobe. You had high school guys like Sebastian Telfair. So no matter what the rule is, you're gonna have players you either got it or you don't. But
baseball does it right. You either go to college for 4 years or you go pro. That's it. Or I think it's 3 years. It's 3 years. I think it's 3 years. MLB, you got to go for 3 years. If you decide to go to college, you got to go for 3 years. Or you can take your chances, go straight out of high school and go pro, but it's on you. And I think they got it right.
I'm good with that one. Either
I also feel like too, because the WNBA is a smaller market, it has less players to get drafted. I feel like it's safer for them. So in essence, I feel like where the NBA can get away with, okay, we're gonna draft a whole bunch of potential. We don't know if they got it yet, but we see potential. I don't feel like the WNBA, because of what they're trying to accomplish, is gonna go off potential. They're gonna go with what we know. Like if you see some underclassmen or some freshmen, it won't be many. Like you might get Juju Page, and I like the little girl. I think it's Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken.
Hannah Hidalgo. I was just about to say, you don't think Hannah and Juju ready? Oh, they ready?
Yeah. So you won't see a lot of one and dones, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I may be wrong, but I don't think you'll see a whole lot of them. I think you'll see more. You'll see probably a handful of who's really good, and like they really got it. And I think they will flop more to the the upperclassmen, junior, seniors, and all that stuff.
But you know what that is, Chuck? That's evolution, right? Even the men's game in the 70s and 80s, the greatest players were still doing 3 and 4 years of college, right? Yeah. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in college for 4 years. Mike was in college for 3 years. Bird was in college for 3 or 4 years. He took a year off after college. Magic came out as a sophomore. I think Hakeem did 3 or 4 years, right? It wasn't until like the 90s you start seeing guys come out after 2 years. I think Webber did 2 years. Shaq did 2 years. I was like, okay, and the next thing you know, a bunch of high school guys started coming. Now everybody's one and done. But back then, it was the evolution. It took time to get to that. You had to really be elite to come out early before. I think the women would start the same way. If they break down the rule, like this year, I think only Juju and Hannah probably would have came out.
Right.
All right. Well, listen, time will tell. What I want to see definitely is, as you pointed out, Ray, the evolution of the game. But I'm very curious to see what the new CBA looks like when they go to the table. And hopefully they are smart enough to listen to this show and listen to the Sports Reporter Without Pay, Ray Lynn, as far as here are your priorities. Here are the things you are not going to budge from in order to elevate yourself as a player, as a business, and to make sure that women, y'all get yours. All right. We're going to take a very short break. I'm talking like 10 seconds, because when we come back, the main reason why I wanted the Sports Reporter Without Pay here is because of this man right here. I got to talk to him. So don't go nowhere. Like I said, we will be back in 10 seconds. All right, welcome back. I got everybody here with me tonight. 806 Sports own Miss Megan Price, the playmaker, Chuck from Say What, Say It Again, and the Sports Reporter Without Pay, the incomparable Ray Lynn's in the building. So I want to talk about the one, the only Jared Goff, because here is a man who got drafted and played some good football for a while. But as things began to look a little bleak, he was traded for Matthew Stafford and went to the Detroit Lions. Now, since then, this man has just elevated his own self and the game of the quarterback position to a level that which, ladies and gentlemen, if you are still, which I know people aren't because you have a bunch of bandwagon jumpers, if you're sleeping on the success of the Detroit Lions, then stay asleep. Don't get woke. But I will repeatedly say this. In 2022, I said Detroit Lions are going to be a team that people need to stand up and pay attention with. And continuously on this show, I went back and forth with the sports reporter without pay because he is a die-hard fan, okay? I dare you to find someone in your own circle who knows about the Detroit Lions like Ray Lynn does. So much so that when Ray was at the game, he was broadcasting, and I was like, oh, Lord, here we go. I was just waiting for something to pop off, but I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, the Detroit Lions yesterday, if there was ever a question, if there was ever a doubt of who this team was, they answered that question yesterday by handing a divisional NFC North rival opponent their first loss. And in a game that, in my opinion, from start to finish, was, as they say, a barn burner. Okay? The NFC North as a whole is probably, arguably right now, the toughest division in all of the NFL.
Not arguably.
It's not arguably right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
all right.
tough.
Not
All right,
arguably right now.
I'm listen.
We know what you're doing, but when every
I'm not
team in
doing-
the division is
I'm
over
just
500,
saying. I'm just saying, because I still have to see more from the number one draft pick in Caleb Williams. That's why I say, as a whole, that's why I say it. I know what Minnesota is. I know what Green Bay is, and damn it, I knew what Detroit was 2 years ago. All right. So Ray, I don't care if you come at me as a fan or if you come at me as a journalist. I don't care which way you come at me. But I need to know from you, sir. I need your perspective on your team as they stand currently today, right now.
I'm so glad you prefaced this with what you did, so people understand. They see me with a lion, with my Tiger stuff on, and I'm a Detroit fan. Like, for 2 years, you've been screaming about Detroit. 2 years ago, we went 9-8 and barely missed getting in the playoffs. But all that year, I kept telling you, not yet, not yet. And then last year they were playing well, and I was like, man, I'm not ready just yet. And we lost in the NFC Championship game because San Francisco, going into the game, I knew San Francisco was way better than us. So last year, I didn't think we were ready for the San Franciscos of the world, the Phillies of the world. I was like, we still a step away. I said all that to say, right now, today, the Detroit Lions is the best team in football, period. We're the best team in football. Like, I don't even feel no kind of way saying it neither. Like, we doing it on both sides of the ball. Like, there's not a weakness on this team, none whatsoever. We can run the ball. Like, we can beat you with Montgomery. We can beat you with Gibbs. Our quarterback, listen, man, I don't even know if people really – I made a post. I said, at some point, we got to start talking about Jared Goff as the MVP candidate. People jumped on the post. No, we don't. LOL, that's a reach. We lost to Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago, and he was awful in that game. Awful in the sense he had 307 yards, but we was down. You get to throwing the ball, racking up pointless yards. He had 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Since that game, 18 for 23, 199, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. 18 for 18, 18 for 25, 22 for 25, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, and completing about 80% of his passes over the last 4 games. That's unbelievable. And he's not dinking and dunking. He's like leading the league in yards per attempt right now. Like, we got weapons, man. J-Mo, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, and then we lose Aiden Hutchinson. They go, what are we going to do? Nothing. We're going to go out and still play defense. I hope we go get Crosby. I really do. But man, this is like in my lifetime, this is the best Lions team, and we've had plenty of individual talent from Stafford, as you spoke about, to Barry Sanders, the GOAT, to Calvin Johnson, one of the GOATs. Like, bro, this is the best team I've done seen. And it to me, I love what Jared Goff is doing, and he should be an MVP candidate, whether he win it or not. Like Dan Campbell, dog. Like I didn't buy into it 3 years ago when he came in. He was talking about biting kneecaps, and he has the city on fire, bro. Like I was there. Y'all don't even understand. It's different. Like we used to play out in Pontiac. We down in the city now. Like Ford Field is right next door to Comerica Park. And then right around the corner is Little Caesars where the Red Wings and Tigers play. Everything is like together. And the city is just on fire for sports, but it all starts with the Lions. Like, they for real, bro. Like, they for real. Like, stand by. Megan, this first time on camera. What we did to y'all 2 weeks ago, Jesus Christ. Megan said, I'm not letting the Cowboys ruin my day. Bye, Ray. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, that's when I had to take a step back. Okay, like, this for real. Like, 47-9?
No.
In
No.
Jerry World. No,
you being nice.
47.
You being nice.
I'm gonna get mine right now.
The Lions were being disrespectful.
Yeah, bro. They started throwing passes to the linemen. I mean, Jesus Christ, man.
I'm
They
gonna
were
tell you
being
right
disrespectful to the
now.
Cowboys.
I have been silent about this because it's not my team to speak on. Okay, but I'm gonna get this one in, and I wish Mike was here for it, but I'm gonna get this one in. Ray, if I could have been near you that day, remember when you told me where Dawkins was and I started crying and you told me, Eric, I need you to get your shit together? Mm-hmm. That's how I felt when I saw 47-9. Ray, I could have hugged you and you would have looked at me and said, I'm gonna need you to get your shit together. But damn it, that was one of the best things of my Sunday. I don't care. I said it and I'm not taking it back.
Well, I can't defend bad football, and I'm not going to defend that for sure.
No, they was not. No,
they was being disrespectful.
So I want to read something about Jared Goff, and so these are not my words. This is from Sports Illustrated. So this is going into last night. Now, he now has 20 game-winning drives in his career and was likely an incompletion or two away from setting the NFL record for most consecutive games in history with a passer rating of 150 or above. He did miss the mark last night, but he had 140. He's the only player in modern NFL history with 4 consecutive games of a completion percentage of 80% or better and a QBR of 140 and better. That's insane.
I'm speaking to a guy who.
I don't know if I'm sold on y'all's defense. I think that's like the one area that there's some lacking. It's not lacking like it was 2 years ago, but it's lacking some. And so that is the only area that I'm like,
I tell you who
I think that your offense is good enough to make up for that, but that's the only area. That's the only area.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. First, I'm gonna say, Ray, I'm happy for you, and I'm saying that the reason I'm saying that is because I can relate to what it's like to be a diehard fan of a team that struggled for a long time, that doesn't see much success. Like that's not easy to withstand. So I'm being real. I'm happy for you because I want that for my team. So one day, hopefully, before I'm gone, I hope I can see that too. So I'm happy for you. Let me say that. Number one. I'm not basing nothing up, no disrespect to Megan. I'm not basing anything off the Dallas game because Dallas just looks bad, period. Like I'm not surprised, but I'm being honest. I'm not surprised by that blowout at all. So I don't really base nothing off that game. What I will say, and this is about to be the weirdest statement, you may agree, you may disagree. To me, they're playing the best, but I look at playing the best and being the best two different. To me, is kind of different. And the reason I say that, and I'm Playmaker Mike can get me about being in the moment. As bad as they're looking, until somebody beat them doggone Chiefs, I'm sorry.
I ain't mad at you.
I'm sorry.
I ain't mad at you.
I'm just
mad at no.
I'm just calling it until somebody beat them. I mean, good Lord.
We always say that.
Having the worst season I've seen him having. He's not playing good.
I'm just gonna say this. when Patrick Mahomes decided to run over a safety to get in the end zone, I said, "Oh yeah, they still the Chiefs." Yeah, they still the Chiefs.
Then in the post game
we
presser,
have-
he said, "Oh, I got a little weight to me."
But you know what? We have been saying that about Patrick Mahomes, and I'll quote the Sports Reporter without pay every time we talk about the Chiefs. Their basement has been the AFC Championship game since Mahomes showed up every single year. So he can say out there and talk about what he needs to work on or he's not playing his best ball. But the bottom line is it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and then you can filter in everybody else wherever you want to. But right now, it is the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Lions, and filter in wherever you want to filter in everybody else.
Because that defense right
Super
now,
Bowl match,
Lord,
the Super Bowl match that should have happened, in my opinion, last year. I feel as though there is a major opportunity for us to see that this year in New Orleans. Now, listen, we're a third of the way through the season. Anything and everything is possible. But I will say this to Ray's point. If the Lions are successful in attaining Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm telling you right now, it's over.
it's
over. See, where Eric says that, he's talking about this year. I'm looking at, if they get Max Crosby, I'm looking out for next year. Because Hayden will be back. You Max Crosby on one side, Aiden Hutchinson on the other side. Good luck.
Aiden Hutchinson, it has already been reported that should the Lions make the Super Bowl, Aiden Hutchinson could play. So imagine getting Max Crosby this year before the trade deadline, and the Detroit Lions make their way to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and Aiden Hutchinson plays. What you just said could come to fruition come February. That's what I'm saying.
So, as a guy who has been with Jared Goff for the start of his NFL career as a Rams fan, I don't know if Eric and Braylon, y'all can help me on this one, but how often is it when a trade happens and both teams come out?
Both teams win?
Yes.
Not often.
This trade, both teams came out winning.
Before you jump in this, I want to say this though. I think that the win on each side is different because you get longevity out of Jared Goff and Matt Stafford. As much as I like him, he's only going to give y'all one championship there for the Rams. That's all.
He did what he was supposed to do, though.
That's what
not a knock. It's not a knock. I'm just saying the Lions have a longer path of being good.
Fair enough.
To me, I feel like the Lions won it more personally.
No, Megan. Because think about it like this. What did Brady do? He left New England, came to Tampa, won the championship. What did Stafford
but Matt didn't win
left
anything
Detroit.
Before that.
That's not the point, Megan. The point was
absolutely the point.
The piece was placed in the right spot in order to attain a championship.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna also say too, if you look at it, if they built what they built now with Stafford, I don't think much changes. Stafford had to do a lot himself, like no O-line, not too many weapons, and I mean, to me, he's putting up with the same thing now. Now Nakua is out. You got Cup is out every other seat. So to me, I feel like Stafford, I'm gonna give him the benefit of a doubt because I feel like his tenure with the Lions was very, very, very difficult, and he was still putting up amazing stats, but just didn't like. So I get what Megan's saying, and I do somewhat agree, but I think we have to give him the benefit of a doubt because that when he was with the Lions, it was just Lord.
I agree with Megan, but we didn't make that trade for longevity. We made that trade for the right then and now.
He handled the task at hand. And I get that. He handled the task at hand. Whereas the Lions were looking towards building something to last for a long time. Clearly, the amount of players that you had that were veteran players, there was not going to be longevity in that team. It's just not going to happen with the age of those players. However, I love it when there is a comeback story like Jared Goff, and you're not only your coach, but your entire organization gave up on you, and now you're giving it to them. I love it.
And memo to the New York Jets, why don't you pay attention to the Detroit Lions? That's how you get a coach.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Ray. I'll give you the final word. We talking about the Lions. I'll give you the final word.
I think that's the biggest like underlying factor. And if we're talking about that trade, right? Like that we've seen that so many times where a team says, okay, we're going to in basketball, football, everything. Like if you look at the Miami Heat in 2006, you got this young star in Wade, you got Shaq Asian. Let's go get all these veterans and try and win a championship. The 2011 Mavericks, same thing, right? In football, you see it all the time. People just say Tampa Bay went and got Brady like that was it. No, they went and got Brady. Then they went and got Leonard Fournette. Then they got Antonio Brown. Then they got Rob Gronkowski. They basically said, we're going to go all in right now. Rams did the same thing right after they got Stafford. They said, okay, let's go get Von Miller. Let's go get OBJ. They said, we're going to go all in like we have it right now. Let's get AD one before he go. And they got it. So it's like mission accomplished. When the Lions went and got Goff, it was like, man, with a change of scenery, there was a reason this guy was a top 2 pick. Like he was, let's not forget who he was.
He's number one.
He's been
number 1 overall pick.
Him and Wentz, right? 1 and 2.
Yeah,
right?
he went 1 and Wentz went 2 to Philadelphia.
So it's like we know what this guy was. When he had weapons around him, when it was him and Todd Gurley, like, and they had that offense, and he was in the Super Bowl. So we know what he can do.
Oh, we forget about Todd Gurley.
I won fantasy football that year because of Todd Gurley. Thank you very much.
It's like, hey, let's bring him here, give him a fresh start, right? There's something in sports, man, when somebody got confidence in you. When a team say, we want you, we believe in you, let us build around you. And they brought Goff in, and then piece by piece. What they do, something the Lions haven't done in years. For years, every first round, what did the Lions do? Go take a wide receiver. What they do now, we're going to build in the trenches. We're going to go get Penei Sewell, who is now one of the best offensive linemen in football. We're going to go get Aiden Hutchinson, who looked undersized in college, and now this dude is just a monster and can't be stopped. We're going to build a team from the trenches out. And what we're going to do is play extremely hard, right? Even our weapons, they aren't marquee big-name guys. Nobody knew who Amon-Ra St. Brown was. Nobody knew who he was, right? We're going to do this double-headed running back system. When they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, I didn't understand it. Like, what we paid Montgomery all that money for? Oh, but it's working. Everything is working. Like, Dan Campbell has hit on every – I mean, he ain't missed yet, man. So it's like both teams won. Like, the Rams got their chance. You can't say a team lost and they won a championship, right? We're working towards that. But as far as what the Lions have been through, this is the first time the city can really, really believe in the Lions. Like, we had playoff appearances before with Stafford, where it was like we were good when we had Stafford and Calvin Johnson. We had Ndamukong Suh, Dre Block. And then like the next year we go 6-10. Mm-hmm. This team feel like we got staying power. Like we can be this good for the next 6 years, man.
For sure.
All right.
For sure.
Megan, I know you got to ride out.
But before I go, I just want to chime in on the last 2 topics. It's not a lot. One of my mic drops real quick. When it comes to the World Series, hope they both lose. And hope they both lose. And then, but I will say the pitching staff that the Dodgers have, I think that their backups could probably beat the Yankees. The Yankees base running is atrocious, and they're pretty streaky. So anyway. And then sliding over to Carolina, it will always, always, always be a problem because of your owner. You do not have winning culture, and that is the bottom line. That's the problem.
Okay, we're going to get into that. As I say goodbye to the Queen of Hoop, Miss Megan Price, 806 Zone. I bring in ASU. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry, doing double work. Mike Caratanudo's in the building. What's up, Mike?
What up, man? Yeah, Eric, in my head, I told you earlier or late last night because I messaged you and I didn't hit send that I told you I had volleyball. And I'm like, man, it's weird he hasn't talked to me all day. But I looked at the message and it's just sitting there in my outbox. So you wouldn't know. But in my head, you knew. Telepathically, you knew.
Yeah, clearly. So as you can see, Mike, I got everybody here tonight. We've been talking about the Liberty. We just finished up talking about.
Did Ray? I called him and congratulated him at the end of the third quarter.
I wasn't going to get into it. When your team getting beat so bad, you call and say, "Man, this is bad."
Yeah, I just said congratulations. Eric, I told you about it. I told you, E. Yes. I said, hey, I called Ray third quarter and said, man, you guys are awesome, and you kicked the hell out of us. So I take it.
Y'all see that comment? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry just broke one for 81 yards. My bad.
81.
He ain't scored. He ain't scored, but yeah. He ain't
Did
scored.
No, not a touchdown.
He ain't scored.
No, he didn't score.
I mean, they don't need it at this moment.
He just won me my fantasy game this week, though.
They is destroying.
Yeah, I have Derrick Henry too, and I wish he would have scored there because that would help me win. But anyway,
Right.
But yeah, hey, E, I heard what you were saying real quick about Kansas City and Detroit and everybody else, and I can see that. I will say this to you though, and I think Ray, you'll appreciate this. Like I went back because I went back and rewatched the Lions and Vikings game, and I'll say this, man, Kevin O'Connell, like I said to you last week, he's a quarterback whisperer because the Vikings obviously have an offensive line better than the Jets, like we talked about when Darnold was there, and that kid was making the throws again. Why he got drafted high. But yeah, Jared Goff, man, his Ray, did you see his MVP odds drop from I think 15-1 to 6-1?
I can believe it.
Yeah.
Should have bet on that before. Although Lamar has to be the front runner right now.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
I mean, just
over Goff.
Oh, right now, yeah. You see what he's doing tonight?
Yes. I do. Yeah, I do.
260 and 4 touchdowns, and he gonna finish the year with 800 rushing yards, right? Like, and they gonna win games. Like, yeah, he means a little more to his team than Goff.
Ray, let me ask you this. Ray, let me ask you this though: how many? Because in a thing like that, it's almost like when two teammates or two guys are teammates for the Heisman. How many votes you think Derrick Henry takes away if he keeps doing this? He will keep doing this, but how many votes you think Derrick Henry takes away?
So, I mean, listen, man, we all know the MVP is basically a quarterback's award, right? For a running back to really, really get in there, he got to rush for 2,000, right? Or he has to be what Derrick Henry was.
He's on pace to hit it.
He has to be what Derrick Henry was in Tennessee, right? He has to mean that much to the offense, which now it's like what he's doing is making life easier for Lamar, which is making Lamar look even like, you know what I mean? Like this man, he got 15 completions tonight for 260 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he got 50 some odd rushing yards. So it's going to be tough, right? But Derrick Henry is doing like for a guy who I didn't think it would work because Lamar's a spread option quarterback. He's a read option, shotgun, spread guy. And Derrick Henry is an under center I formation. Give me the ball. I'm running between the tackles guy. And they found a way to balance it enough where it's working. Game 1 and 2 look sloppy, and it's like it's coming together now, and they look super scary until they play that team in red.
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about this young man. And since two of y'all reside in the great state of North Kakalaki, Bryce Young, okay? This young man got basically really no opportunity to thrive in Carolina. He was thrown to the Wolves as the number 1 draft pick, had limited amount of success. So he is out. Andy Dalton is in. Now we know Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is a guy who in the regular season, when he was in Cincinnati, would have double-digit win seasons, but couldn't win a postseason under Marvin Lewis to save his life, which is one of the few times, as Mike will attest to, I have called for the firing of a black head coach. But what I saw yesterday was just, I can't even put into words. So I hope that someone here, so unfortunately can help me put this into perspective. Jaden Daniels goes out with a rib injury. Now, as according to his mama on X, he's fine. We shall see.
It's week to week.
Marcus Mariota, another number 2 draft pick, came in for the Washington Commanders and lit up. I mean, just dog walked the Carolina Panthers. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Andy Dalton was still under center yesterday, correct? On the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they were unsuccessful in stopping the NFC East division leader Washington Commanders with their backup quarterback. Could somebody please help me make sense of why are we putting so much of, it's Bryce Young's fault? Now, we heard what Megan said, but I'm just like, what?
So I can answer that. Let's start here, man. That game, Washington beat up on. I mean, we're gonna call that a Lion from now on. Washington beat up on them how the Lions did the Cowboys. You remember that, right, Mike? Score looked very similar. That's how the Lions had beat up on
the Lions just scored again.
Yeah. Washington might as well start throwing passes to their linemen, right? So I don't think anybody ever said it was Bryce Young's fault, right? Like Carolina's just a bad team. They're a really bad team. Right before he was drafted, now that he's there, after they trade him and he get a fresh start, they're a bad team. They're not a great ran organization, right? Their team, just like I said, my Lions had a few years where we won. Like Carolina had the season after 15-1, they sucked the next year, right? Like they won the division once, going like 7-8 or so, 7-9 or something like they're a team that just like they're never gonna have sustained success, right? It's the ownership, like Megan said. It wasn't that it was Bryce Young's fault. It was that while they played awful, he looked really bad. I want you to think about this, E. Yeah. He was completing less than 60% of his passes for 78 yards a game before they benched him this year.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. 78 yards a game? And you down every game, so just throw it, man. Like, he just, I mean, there was nothing I saw in watching Bryce Young play. Like, you know, Jordan Love, that's the example I use. I knew Jordan Love was good before he was a starter. Aaron Rodgers was still the starter. He was like hurt one game. Jordan Love went out there. His game wasn't even great. It was like 11 for, you know, it wasn't great. The numbers weren't great. But he just made a couple throws that made you go, oh, wow.
Yep.
That kid.
Yeah, that was against the Chiefs. That was against the Chiefs out there in the game.
Bryce Young has never made a play that made me go, I see it now. Right? He hasn't done anything that made me go, that was the guy in college. That's the reason they took him there. I see it now. Right? We used to dog John on the show about why Tua caught so much flack because of his draft class, right? You had Justin Herbert out there already doing these kind of things. It was like, but you saw some signs from Tua that he can play. And then you got him some receivers and was like, wow. And now you see Miami's offense without him and you really go, wow, he can play. Bryce Young hasn't done anything to make me go, man, if he had the right stuff around him. If he had the right stuff around him, how he said, he'll have a bunch of good mashed potatoes, peas, and corn around him, but the meat gonna be bad, man. He's not like, he's not a main dish, bro. Like, I don't see it. I don't see it.
But I said that to Eric last week, though. Remember, or the week before? You remember I was saying, like, if you don't have anything, you don't have consistency around him, and your offensive line is getting him killed. And yeah, some of those passes, I'm with you. You don't see it because you're like, what the hell is he doing? But offensive lines, like I always said about the Jets, and I mean even the Texans way back when they ruined David Carr's career, like it's a balance. But yeah, I at some point in that, I do agree with you because I was kind of saying that to Eric, like we haven't seen that play, but dude's got happy feet, dude's getting killed, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, Andy Dalton comes in, they move the ball, they're still losing. Like it's frustrating because yeah, I mean people say hindsight, and as much as it pained me when we were talking draft, 2 seasons ago, I kept saying to E, I go, it does pain me, but I would definitely take Stroud, even though I know where he played college at, over Bryce Young at number 1. But I think CJ Stroud wouldn't have had the year he did last year if he was in Carolina. He may have showed some, but I think he would have got crushed.
Right. Okay, but Mike, really quick before I wanted to make a quick segue because I meant to call you Saturday night and say this to you. I'm so proud of Colorado for what they did on Saturday. So we'll just,
yeah.
If you know, you know. But Chuck, all right. So then, what needs to change for Bryce Young? Because he's still on a rookie deal. Is there a team out there that you think could benefit from Bryce Young being on a team and sitting behind, as my man Roland Rainey was chiming in saying, sitting behind a veteran quarterback? Is there a team that Bryce could go to, much like Jared Goff has done in other quarterbacks, to reinvent himself?
That's a tough one. As far as just if he needs some tutelage, if we're just talking tutelage from a veteran QB, I would say first person, of course, going to jump into my mind. Why not be behind the upcoming possible GOAT to be so like a Mahomes or I like people like maybe Burrow, maybe I really don't think This is just me being honest. I agree with Ray 100%. I just don't think he got it. I'm just gonna call it what it
Okay.
is.
And that's fine. If he ain't it, then he ain't
Right.
it. I mean,
But I think the topic is more based off of, because if you watch, all the major sports shows and like our podcast and many other podcasts, it wasn't really many people that was blaming him. It was more or less the Carolina fans. You saw it all over social media. Oh, we get rid of Bryce. Like to me, it was more them putting the blame on him than us as analysts and sports people and all that good. So, but like I said, if I think he had to just sit behind somebody, and I'm kind of being petty, sarcastic. Shoot, it seems like Green Bay does well with just having people just sitting back there. I mean, hey, shoot, take that shot. So, but I mean, I just don't see it. I'm with Ray on this.
Eric, I got 2 ones for you real quick. And Chuck, I do see what you're saying. I mean, Burrow's way too young. He'd be sitting for. He'd just be Burrow's career. It'd almost be like a Steve Young situation, except 2 years, 3 years difference. But where Ray's quarterback, other quarterback is at Matthew Stafford. I mean, you sit with Sean McVay and you sit with that and the Rams. Or here's the crazy thing, because I mean, I think if anybody could turn it around, it would be Sean McVay. But I could see, and then it would depend on a new head coach too. But if you're talking about a veteran, a guy that goes to work, would be Derek Carr, Derek Carr, and go to New Orleans. But I mean, they're not going to trade him in the division.
Yeah,
I knew you was going to say LA because that's been circling.
So Chuck,
since this whole thing started,
your co-host is saying he needs to go to Miami.
No, thank you.
Okay,
dude. I don't know if you noticed, but they just said Tua's back at practice, so Tua's about to.
We did say that, and I'm not getting involved in that conversation right now because I'm very sick.
Thank you.
I've spoken my case about it. If you want to see how I feel about Tua and the Miami Dolphins situation, go catch a previous episode of this show right here, the Sports Arena.
Actually, I disagree with you, Brimmer. McVay did not sabotage that Super Bowl. His receivers didn't help him.
So here's the thing about the Rams, right? People only pay attention to the big names. Do you know the worst thing that happened after the Rams won the Super Bowl? And it's been downhill since then.
Right.
Andrew Whitworth retired.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
And it literally changed everything. It changed everything, man. Like Stafford been back there with happy feet like Bryce Young. Putting Bryce Young in that situation right now with the Rams wouldn't be very. I mean, it wouldn't be very.
Well, yeah, right now, but like Eric's saying, sit behind. I mean, if Stafford goes another year or two. Again, I'm not saying. I mean, the Rams definitely have receiver toys that are very shiny and are very good.
I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Y'all mentioned Green Bay, and if we talking about sitting behind somebody, a team that got some weapons, the offensive line is okay, right? Could be better. They can go build that offensive line. The Jets. Rodgers can't have, but
yeah, but the offensive line ain't good.
Was there? Breece Hall is there?
Better than it was last year.
Yeah, man. The Jets would make a lot of sense. You get to sit behind the GOAT. Although from the stories I've heard, he wasn't very warm to Jordan Love. But again, they say Brett Favre wasn't to him either. But just sitting there watching, man, you hear athletes always talk about when they get around veterans, watching how they prepare, watching how they watch film, watching how they get ready for the game. You get to sit and see in real time how he calls his plays at the line. If he decides to talk to you, you know what I mean? Now you can see what did you see to make you make that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is one of the greats, man. Forget about people saying he only got one Super Bowl. He's one of the greatest ever to do this. So if you can sit behind him and then be able to be on the team where the defense is solid and they got some weapons over there, if there's anything left, if Bryce Young does have anything, that'll be the place we're going to find out.
To your point, Ray, that's why people brought up the Rams first, because what the quarterback room is like. You hear Baker talk about it. You heard Carson Wentz talk about it. When it comes to watching film with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, is different.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, my response to it is I'm looking at it from just a tutelage standpoint. I'm not assuming that he's gonna go somewhere and play there. I'm just talking about him going somewhere behind somebody and just learning. Even if he get traded to another team, Just
Right.
quarterbacks he can go and just learn from, even if that's not where he's going to wind up playing. To me, that's what he needs at this point. Yes, he needs on the field experience, but he needs to be hands-on with somebody that just knows how to be successful. And wherever he goes, he goes. So that's just kind of how I'm thinking about it.
All right, fair enough. Look, Jen, we only got a little bit of time left. I just want to get everybody's World Series prediction between the Yankees and the Dodgers. I mean, we're talking historic rivalry here, dating back to before I think any of us were even a twinkle in our father or mother's eye. So I'm just going to go around the horn, as they say. Playmaker, I'm going to start with you. Give me your thoughts and give me your prediction for the World Series, sir.
I don't have no thoughts. The fact that the Dodgers made it make me sick.
Well,
So you want
tell
the
us how
Yankees?
you really feel, man. Tell
So
us
you
how
want the
really
Yankees to win? Okay, good deal. He wants the Yankees to win. Ray, I'm gonna go to you.
So, I don't even know if I have a prediction either, but when you sent this out and this is the lineup, the question I thought you were going to ask, and hey, Mike, can you just hit mute or something, bro?
I got him.
We can hear everything in your background, just so you know. The question that I was more prepared to talk about, who is this World Series more important for? Right?
The Dodgers.
I landed on that conclusion, but one could make the case it's New York. They haven't won since 2009.
Yeah.
In fact, they haven't been to a World Series since 2009. But then you look at the Dodgers and the amount of success they've had. I think they've been to 11 straight playoffs, right? They've been to 3 or 4 World Series. They've won 90 games almost every year and won 100 games 4 or 5 of those years. 98 this year. And you look at all of that and go,
They only
we
won
won one World Series.
One
Like
World
when
Series.
you look at the amount of success they've had in the Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw, this era, right? You go, man, they had to win 3 of them, right? Because they were winning games at a clip reminiscent of the mid to late 90s, early 2000s Yankees. But those guys was winning World Series. So for this era of the Dodgers to be remembered as successful as they would like to be, it means a lot to them.
And the thing is, Ray, the one World Series that they won,
was in the shortened year. It was in the shortened year, right? I look at that. I was like, they didn't win one in a full season. They won it in I was thinking lockout, but yeah, the shortened year. It was the COVID year, right? So from a legacy standpoint, as far as being remembered as one of the greatest teams all time or something like that, it means a lot. This Yankees team, man, with Stanton, with Judge, with like it looks like they're going to be good for years to come now. At least that's the Yankees do. When they get good, they're not just good for a year. They're like this looks like this could be the start of, and with the Yankees every year, people think they're going to be good, but this is their first World Series appearance, man, in 15 years, which sounds crazy for us. Those of us, we're all probably near the same age group, right? We remember there was a time the Yankees were always in the mix. For them to not have been in a World Series in 15 years, I bet to their fan base it's a really big deal. But for this Dodgers team, man, to be respected amongst the pantheon of greats, man, I think they have to win this. And to beat New York while doing it would be like, this is good for baseball, right? The only thing better than Yankees Red Sox is Yankees Dodgers, right? Like this is baseball, man. Like this is what you want to see. This is Lakers Celtics, you know what I'm saying? This is Michigan Ohio State. This is it, right? So
real quick to your point, Ray, the reason why some people will see it as important for the Yankees, that's because they saw the Liberty win. Now New York is on one about
right. I can see that. Let me get Mike get in here real quick, Chuck, because he's got to head back. Mike, go ahead, man.
Yeah, Ray, I agree with Ray's points, what he said, and considering it's the first time since 1981 that these teams have faced each other in a series too, that's also crazy. Just thinking, like we said, of the history, because the Dodgers, I know in the late 80s, early 90s were kind of there. The Yankees, like you said, the mid to the late 90s, along with actually the Braves teams is what I would add too. You would think would have had more than one World Series as well. But yeah, I go. I love this. Not just because it is Yankees Dodgers, which is awesome for baseball, but I go with the Fighting Otanis, and it goes 7. I think it goes 7, but I think there's going to be some insane fireworks and the Fighting Otanis get it done.
All right, fair enough, brother. Mike, I'm gonna holler at you. Stay blessed, man. Stay up there.
Guys,
Peace.
rock. See you guys.
All right.
Chuck, man, go ahead. Give me your thoughts on this.
I'm Ray Lynn now. I'm a diehard Yankees fan. Always have been. Native from New York, so they like the only New York team that I actually like. But I got what I wanted. I wanted Judge versus Ohtani. That's what I want. That's what I wanted. And I know we were saying, to me, it would have been even more amazing because New York would have been on fire. If the Yankees played the Mets, New York would have been the place to be. But I'm a Yankees fan. I'm picking the Yankees in 7. I do think it's gonna go long as possible. I'm picking the Yankees in 7. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm glad we back. To answer Ray question, I do think I get it, but I think we have the most pressure because to me, we continuously construct monster lineups and have been disappointing for the last
15 years.
We've been doing this consistently, putting monster teams together, expected to win, and we disappoint every season. So
same thing with the Dodgers.
I think they finally here, and I think they just need to.
So here's what I'll say as we wrap up. And before I go to my brothers, thank you so much to Megan Price, Mike Harrison, as always. Thank y'all for being a part of tonight. Because this is every once in a while you got to reset, and I'm glad that everybody came out tonight here on the Sports Arena. I'm gonna do a Mike Carritunuto since he's not here. When I look at the Dodgers, here's what I look at. I look at ownership. Magic Johnson is a winner. Magic Johnson is a man who has the business mind to be successful on and off the court, the field. He's a leader amongst men. What he puts together seems to always breed championships. And so there's no question in my mind that right now for the Dodgers organization, there is a lot of pressure on them coming from the top down because Magic Johnson's name is on this thing. Much like the Washington Commanders, who are first place in the NFC East. Go figure. But when I think of baseball, and to Ray's point, yeah, we're all roughly about the same age. When I think of baseball, even growing up in Philadelphia, the team that everybody wanted to be, the merchandise, from the hat to the pinstripe jersey to the name on the back, you always thought about the New York Yankees. Everybody had their other teams, but if you didn't have a team, you wanted to be around a winner. You wanted to be around that team. And in every professional sport, there has always been that team that people gravitate towards. Why? Because they're winning, because their name was synonymous with the league itself. In the 90s, it was the Yankees or it was the Cowboys. You know what I mean? In the 2000s, it was the New England Patriots. When LeBron jumped on the scene, everybody wanted to be a part of Cleveland.
Don't skip 2000s with the Lakers. Don't do that. Don't skip the Lakers.
I'm sorry. You're right. Yes, sir. You're absolutely right, sir. My apologies. It was the Lakers. It was the Black Mamba. It was Shaq. You are absolutely right.
We can't let him do that, Chuck.
Facts.
I will fall back. It was the Lakers.
I was going to be petty and not say nothing.
But that's what I mean. There was always that one team in each professional sport that everybody wanted to be a part of because of what they did, and that's the Yankees. 27 World Series championships. And in a decade and a half, they have not gotten one more to make 28. This matchup, to Chuck's point, is not only what Chuck wanted, but it's what Major League Baseball needed. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited to see this. And as a guy who considers baseball fourth on my list when it comes to watching professional sports, I'm excited for this one. So I'm going to say really quick, I'm just going to say this. I say the Dodgers take it in 6.
And not for nothing, man. Not only do you get the two most storied franchises in the history of the game, right? It's kind of like, again, you get Lakers and Celtics, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you get the two most storied franchises in the history of the game. You get anybody that follows baseball, it's a 2-man race for who you think the best player in baseball is. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And you get them both. And you listen, man, who's the commissioner for baseball right now?
I almost said Manfred, but that's not
I think
No, yeah, because my mind's still stuck on Seelig, and that's not who it is.
I think
Did somebody
it
comment?
might be Rob Manfred.
No. Who is it? Did somebody comment? It ain't Bud Seelig. I said that. Is it? Is it?
Someone said Bud
Rob
Selig.
Manfred.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't Seelig. No, yeah, it's Rob Manfred. Yeah,
I was
know.
right. Okay, I
No,
thought.
but
I was right.
Seelig was the last one. Anyway, Manfred is somewhere jizzing in his pants, man. Like, listen, like, think about it, man. As a
Wow.
again, y'all weren't around. I did a show with Playmaker. This was around Olympics time, right? And we were looking at we was talking WNBA, and I said, man, not only for them personally and getting there, but for the fans. We need the aces either in the 6 seed or the 2-3 seed.
Right.
I said that. I said we don't need aces versus
Liberty.
Like in the second round. We need that to be a finals matchup. So they can't be in 8 or 4, right? They got to be in the 2-3 matchup or the 6-3 matchup or whatever. That way they see because that's what you want in the finals. You want the two juggernauts, the two teams that everybody been talking about the last 2 years, right? They played last year in the finals. Like, it looks like New York's looked better this year, but they probably got 8 of the top 15 players in the WNBA on those two teams. Give or take, right? 6, 7, whatever, right? But you got the heavy hitters on both those teams. You get, again, both teams are loaded, man. Juan Carlos standing so and then over here you got Freeman, you got Betts. No. You get Judge and Ohtani. Like you get the two marquee names in baseball. And not only do chicks dig the long ball, regular fans dig it too. Like, that's what they have. They aren't like the best player in baseball on some, like when Mookie Betts won MVP, where it's like, this guy's a 5'2", he do it all. No, these guys are like, they drop bomb. Like, people are going to tune in because they want to see it, man. Like, I don't think you could have got a better matchup for the World Series than to get those two guys playing for these two franchises. Only thing I wish Ohtani was still pitching.
I was just about to say but I think to the Dodgers' credit, I'm glad they made that move, because I think they just took a lot of stress off him to be what we're seeing currently. That the fact that he ain't got to worry about pitching, I think it just relieved a whole lot for him to just be the monster that he's being. You would have got that regardless, but I think it's even on another scale because he only got to worry about one responsibility. So, but I'm with you though. If he was pitching, I'm nervous. I'm scared.
But listen though, wouldn't it be great if they waited all the way to the World Series and then in like game 6?
No, it would not be great. No.
Like get Ohtani in the game.
No.
Fellas, thank you so much. This has been great. Hey, shout out to everybody being part of the team tonight, from Megan Price to Mike Harrison to the Playmaker to Chuck, man, and of course to my brother, Sports Reporter Without Pay, Ray Lynn. Much love to everybody. Hey, see y'all next Monday night. Everybody stay blessed. Your man Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.